Hello, everyone. Yeah, so this is 2021. Wow. Craziness. Yeah, I really don't have much more to add on, you know, just weird stuff going on. But to be quite honest, I'm just going to end on I am aware that stuff is going on in the world, and I'm not going to comment on it right now. Our focus for today is, as the title suggests, this is a Q&A video about the comic. So if you've got any questions that you want to know about the characters, about the story, about anything to do with the production of the comic that I can answer, you know, you can go for it. And also, if, like you say, you watch this video and you think, okay, they've all asked these things, but I'd like to know something, by all means, comment below. We can always do a follow-up later on. That is absolutely fine. Like I say, these are the people who very kindly gave us some questions to talk about, and let's see. So I'm going to be, just like I say, looking at this up while I'm here. So first of all, we have got Time Captain from the Discord, who wants to know, who's your favourite villain that you have created? That's a genuinely tough question, because there are a few villains I really like in the comic. There are a few that I did in the original webcomic that we haven't featured yet in Reynard City Chronicles. I mean, I think in terms of how they link up in the story, I love Perfect Platinum. I mean, I can't really get into why without sort of getting into spoilers, but I really like that character. I know a number of people do as well. I mean, Caramel Girl, I mean, there is a kind of personal link with that, because I've been in that situation where you lose a job, and that kind of bitterness that she's got, like, I think everyone's kind of had that at some point, so there is a bit of a personal link there. But I mean, I think with any of the villains, I do enjoy writing villains. I think it is fun. Okay, so moving on, SD Dogwood, also from the Discord, asks a few questions. So let's kick off. So, have you ever written dark, gritty content that was trying to tackle a serious issue and feared you were going a little overboard? Wow, that is a really good question. And I've got to say, I think it depends on what your definition of dark and gritty is. Because I think you see this online quite a lot, where people have this idea that if something is R-rated, that like automatically makes it dark and gritty, or that it's not possible to tackle kind of adult issues with like a lower rated content. And I would take issue with that. If you've ever seen Hunchback of Notre Dame, you know that, you know, you can do that on a U rating, or G rating for America, I should say. If you look at Jaws, Jaws was rated PG back in the day. You try and tell me that Jaws isn't dark, you know. So there is that. I mean, in terms of going overboard, I think you always kind of worry about that to an extent, and you always worry about what you're trying to do gets misrepresented or kind of misinterpreted with what you're going for. I mean, so he then sort of adds this kind of follow-up, which is, do you find it hard to strike a balance between being gritty versus being light-hearted? And again, I would argue that it is possible to kind of hit that balance where you get a bit of both. And like I say, Disney being a great example of this. I mean, Pixar, I mean, I watched Soul recently, you know, there are dark, emotional, hard moments, but they come with sort of silliness and slapstick. And I think, you know, it is possible to do it without the tonal whiplash. And I think you always try to reach that balance, because I think even in the most kind of like serious dramas, like say something like Kramer versus Kramer, there are like light-hearted moments. And I mean, like I say, even if you see like a parody, like, just tell you one that's really strange for that, Walk Hard. Walk Hard, despite being a goofy, silly Judd Apatow comedy, does have some moments, like the song at the end, like, it genuinely is kind of quite heartwarming. And the idea of, I mean, the line in the song is loving yourself but not only yourself. And I think that's a really good message to know. I think that is something that kind of is quite a bold thing. Incidentally, I do recommend it as well, because I love how they parody different genres. So, for example, it was David Bowie's birthday recently, and that film did a really good. This is so weird. So it was John C. Reilly doing this kind of Vegas sort of light entertainment version of David Bowie's Starman, and yet it worked, which was mental. So yeah, so my personal feeling is that it is possible to do both. I think it is possible to do it without tonal whiplash, but you do have to kind of do a very careful balancing act, and it's not always easy. Oh, so one final question, which is very different, but welcome. So, if you were to do a Marvel versus Capcom style crossover with Reynard City, what would be the most unlikely crossover you would pair them up with? Now, that is a good question, because like I say, most unlikely. I mean, if we want to go like totally unlikely, I don't know, Watchmen, because I can't imagine Alan Moore agreeing to it. Just to throw that one out there. But I don't know. If I was to do this, like, if someone said, like, how would you do it? I would really love to do, and I've seen a few people sort of put this out there as a concept, but like, I think an idea of kind of a Smash Brothers, but with like all like the indie webcomics out there would be great. So, you know, I would be biased, and I would bring in Dan Butcher's Vanguard characters. I would bring in Susie Gander's Periwinkle. I would bring in Kendall Collins's, you know, Life by the Tracks characters. It would be a fun. I think it would be a great way to kind of introduce people to all these awesome characters. Okay, so Tom Crozier. Now, a little bit of background here with Tom's bit here. So Tom, he sent me an email, and these questions were all kind of part of the email. I think it was for research purposes. But to be honest, I did ask him, you know, is it okay if I share these questions on here as well? And that kind of sparked the idea for this video. So, bless him, he said yes, so I'm going to do this. So how did you get your start in comics? Here's the thing. Per se, I don't have a start in comics. I made my own comics. So that's the simple answer to that. The hard answer is I've been working on this for more than a decade. So how does the business side operate? Do I hire an artist to work on my project? So the business side of this, I mean, I'm glad we could kind of talk about this, because this is something that, again, has been in development, and one of the great things of doing this reboot is that things have changed in terms of how you can fund a project, and the great thing is crowdfunding has come in, and that's really helped. So we got some money for Indiegogo last year, and that allowed us to do a print run, which was really important. We have merchandise via the Ko-fi shop, we have Patreon, there's all kinds of ways that we do it. So obviously look at the ads that we have in these videos, because that will then give you an indication. We do also have sponsors, so we're talking to a couple of businesses. So Turner European Consulting have been sponsoring us for the last couple of months, so that's really helped. But we're also talking to Miami Fox Apparel, so Dan Butcher did a commission for them, so that's brilliant. But we are looking at hopefully having more of a time with them soon, but we kind of yet to have like the full talks on that. Do I hire an artist to work on my project? If you can, and like I say, the way we do it is a bit different. If you can pay page rates to an artist, do so. Like, pay for the quality. That's what I'm going to say. Pay for the quality. If you can sort of do an agreement with someone and you share the sales and that, do so. Because I think it works better. Because I think if you have money on the table, if you have an agreement, it's a lot easier than sort of doing something on trust, and definitely not doing something purely for exposure. Exposure shouldn't be the sole thing you offer someone, because for one thing, that's kind of become a bit of a dirty word recently, but equally because if you think about it on the other side, if you're trying to do something, you wouldn't want that. So my advice would be, find a way to source money and pay as much as you can. Pay as much as you can, make an agreement that's worth it for, like I say, because we have an agreement with the people we work with, and we try and do it as fairly as possible. So this next question, how do I go about approaching publishers? Is it as simple as emailing them to ask to pitch? The issue with this question is that it's quite amorphous. It's this idea that publishers are all one and the same, and the simple fact is they're not. The best thing you can do, there's a book called The Artist and Writer's Handbook, and they have details and contact details for various agents and publishers, because some publishers won't look at work if you don't have representation. They're like, we're not going to look at it. Simple as that. So emailing them is a waste of time. In some cases, they might have a very specific submission, like they want to see different work, but they only want, say, the first chapter, or they only want your idea. So the best thing to do, like I say, is do your research, find some publishers who are going to be interested in the thing that you're doing. Because again, it's a waste of time pitching an idea for a superhero comic if they only do instruction manuals to build rabbit dens. They're all difficult. And again, so looking at these questions here, when emailing them, should I include details of the project? Again, give them what they ask for. Is there a specific genre I should avoid? No. There's no genre that you should avoid in the sense that you should write the thing that you want to write. What there is that once you have written it, and once you've got it down, then you can start thinking about how you promote it, how you market it, who you approach, because then you have more of an idea of who it's going to appeal to. I don't think you should censor yourself when you're in the process of writing it. I mean, when you're editing it, you could probably have more of a view of that, and that should also kind of cover, like, if you're asking someone for feedback, you should think about the kind of person that would want to look at it, and who is going to give you the feedback you need. And again, all of these things are harder said than done, they take time. It's not a right or wrong thing. I wish I could say, here's the magic answer that covers everything, because these things change. These things are not static. You have to kind of dig around yourself, and it takes time and it takes effort, and the sad fact is the amount of reward proportionate to the amount of effort you get in is going to be a fraction. It is going to be a fraction of the effort you put in, and that is just fact. It's true for artists, it's true for writers, and I think, especially with these things, work with an artist, because if you want to get a comic out, you are working in a visual medium, and you could be the best writer, but the fact is people are going to want to see artwork, so you've got to bear that in mind. Let's see if we've got any questions. Here we go, so we've got a few more here. What comics do you think I should be reading to learn about the craft of writing and pacing comics? Now that is another good question. I think, broadly speaking, I mean, there are, I think Scott McCloud did a really good book about writing comics. There's like books about how to draw manga. There's all kinds of books out there that you can look up for yourself and do that. I mean, from my point of view, if you want to talk about structure, I would recommend a story by Robert McKee, who's a very famous screenwriting guru, if you like. And I think what he's really good at is giving you the structure of a story, how a story works, how these things are put together, in effect giving you a framework. Now that is not the same as a formula, and I think people sometimes misunderstand that as if, you know, everything has to follow this like rigid pattern. It's like, no, of course it doesn't, but it's a bit like if you're playing football. And if you're playing football, yes, you want to score an absolutely incredible goal, you know, a 40-yard lob, chip the keeper, looks amazing. Of course you do. But the thing is, if you're not aware of people around you, if you're not aware of the movement, you are not going to get that opportunity in order to score that goal. You have to know the framework, and as you learn the framework, you then get a bit more freedom. But I think you have to kind of learn the rules before you break them, basically. So that's why I'd recommend something like that. But yeah, there's all kinds of books that you can read. I would also recommend just kind of looking at stuff and kind of taking it in, but also sort of taking experiences. So if, you know, you have a day job, like if something happens in a day job, kind of make a note of it. Have thoughts about, you know, the people when you're on the bus. Like, don't sort of do it too consciously, but kind of take it in, like the rhythm of how people speak, or like a story they'll be talking about, because you never know where the influence or the inspiration can come from. And it's important to be open-minded. Okay, so a really big question here. What is your opinion on the comic book industry today? That's interesting. I mean, the thing that strikes me at the minute is the fact that we have these enormous films that are massively popular. We have the Spider-Man game on PS4, which is absolutely enormous. You know, we had we had like the Arkham games that were massive, and yet comics, it's a mixed bag, I'd say, because I think on the one hand you've had characters like Kamala Khan and Miles Morales come through, which is absolutely brilliant and sort of opening it out to new audiences, which is great. But I still think there's a little bit of catch up and sort of trying to see what kind of comics are for. On the other hand, I do think there's more opportunities for independent people than there ever were before. There's more access. The flip side of that, as I've seen conventions and what have you, there is more competition. So it's difficult because as these things open up, they open up. So that's what you got to deal with, really. But it's also really exciting, and it's great, especially like I say, when you're at these events, which is why these times are difficult at the minute, because you don't get to sort of have that like one-to-one conversation, which I absolutely love. What general advice would you have for an aspiring comic writer? So, basically, my opinion, because I've seen this come up a few times, this term aspiring. Oh God. So yeah, this term aspiring. For me, you are aspiring when you have an idea but you haven't written it down yet. Once you have produced something, as far as I'm concerned, you are a writer. If it hasn't been published, then yes, you are an amateur because you haven't been paid. If someone has given you money for it, doesn't matter if it's your gran who's given you a quid, posted on a postcard. That's professional. You got paid. So yeah. So as soon as that's done, aspiring is out the window. So there is that. And I think the thing is, it's basically about getting the stuff down. Like, the first thing to do, I think, is get your script down, get something finished. Because it's never going to be perfect, but I do enjoy that period when you're doing the first draft and you're getting the work down and you get those ideas in form, and it's great. Then the next step, I would say, is to get feedback from someone. And feedback is really important because you want to be sure that the person you're trying to sort of aim this at gets what you're going for. And people offer good advice. People sort of, I remember showing it to an old friend that I knew from school, and I was, sort of had in my mind what kind of advice I was going to get back, and she said, like, well, this story needs more action. And it's great, it's exactly what you need, and you can't presume, and it really kind of helps. And then the last time with another one of my issues, I was speaking with Natalie Knowles, who's a really good artist, and she looked at the words I was saying, and it's like, you are using these quite sort of positive words to describe a negative character, and it doesn't quite work, and it works better if you do it this way. And I never would have thought of it like that. So yeah, so I think it's important, one, to get feedback, but two, to kind of seek out people that are going to give you the right kind of feedback. Because someone saying it's brilliant doesn't really help you. Someone saying it's crap doesn't really help you. Someone who can break it down is good. Also, don't show it to too many other people either, because the problem with that, and it's nobody's fault, it's just one of these things, the more people you involve at that stage, the harder it gets, because everyone will have different ideas and it becomes harder to focus, because at the end of the day, you still have to tell your story. So, any level of advice, you could take a step back and you could think, well, I agree with that, but I don't agree with that, so I will keep going. And that is absolutely fine, because you have to sort of look at it and sort of mould it in a way until you're happy, because the problem is, you can end up sort of tinkering with something forever. At some point, get something out there, whether it's like a small press thing, whether it's something you hand out to a couple of shops, whether it's something you put on a website, whether it's just something that you just post on a Discord somewhere and it's only this like tiny crowd. It doesn't matter. Get it out there. Get things out there. Keep going, and don't try and think too hard about it, because like I say, the danger is that you're constantly sort of wanting to mould something until it's perfect. And the thing is, at some point it's got to be out there, and it still won't be perfect regardless of how long you tinker with it. So that would be my recommendation. Get stuff out there. Try, because you will make mistakes. You will look back and think, oh, I could do that better, I could have done that better. Doesn't matter. Keep going. Keep trying. And do it as often as you can. Come up with ideas as often as you can, because there's any number of things that you can do. So, for example, we've got Fan Art Friday coming up, and the great thing is with Fan Art Friday is you can just get involved and have a bit of fun with it, and at that point we can, like I say, get people in there. And this is the thing, if you want to do a short story that we can link to with the Fan Art Friday, we'll do that as well, because fan art in this sense also covers cosplay, it also covers acting, it also covers any creative thing that you want to do that includes our characters is under that fan art banner. In much the same way as if we get a commission from someone, we put the commission in there, but we don't call the video sort of fan art commission, also stories, also blah blah blah, because otherwise the title would be like that, and we want a little bit of brevity here. So so that's that. So that's a good kind of point, and I did not realise that once again I've done a video where I've decided, I'm only going to make this a short one, and it just becomes this massive thing because there was quite a lot to cover. But I just want to say a big thank you to Tim, to Time Captain, to, let me just make sure I've got his name, to SD Dogwood, and I think that was it. Let's just see, Tom Crozier. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Really good questions. It was really interesting to kind of talk about these aspects, and like I say, if you want another video like this, if you want to know something that we didn't cover with this one, I am also going to include a link to the 6K Twitter video that John did for us, which was about like the origin of the comic and various things like that. I think we'll post a link in that somewhere in this video. So that will kind of cover that. Like I say, Fan Art Friday, we really want to see your work. I think it's really important to kind of, like I say, because we want to get this out there, and fan art helps us spread the message. It helps people to look at what we're doing. So if you can help us out with that, I'm very grateful. And also, 26th of January is my birthday, so that will help with that. I've got some ideas. Like I said, I want to do some more commissions, but again, it's kind of dependent on people supporting this. So like I say, if we get Ko-fis, if we get Patreon backing, if we get sponsors, it allows us to do more, and it allows us to work with more people. It allows us to bring in local businesses on the merchandise side, because again, like I say, it's tough at the minute, and any support we can give to other people, I really want to do, and I want to involve more people. So if you could get this out there and share it and get it in front of more people, that will really be great, and it really means a lot to us. And obviously there are lots of people that are doing this already. I don't want to kind of make it look like we're doing it, because like I say, plenty of people share the videos, plenty of people are backing us. So like I say, we have a special thanks playlist, because that basically covers lots of people that have worked on this and have been a part of it. I think it's kind of the easiest way, because you can just look through the videos. But yeah, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who makes this project happen. I mean, most recently we had Emily working on issue 3, which was really good, and I'm really chuffed with the work she did. Going back, of course, you've got Joel, who did issue 2, which looked tremendous. That was a really good job. Nicholas and Sid on issue 1, which again kind of set the tone really well. Great job. And obviously, like I say, everyone who worked on the webcomics, so Susie Gander, Dan Butcher, Jed Soriano, lots of people who have all worked on this. You guys are absolutely tremendous. Like I say, John Fulgero, who I mentioned, who did the videos earlier. Lots of fantastic people have worked very hard to get this together. I mean, as I said, another recent thing, of course, we had like Hayley, AJ and Holly working on the videos, which has been really fantastic. So yeah, any support that we get is really super appreciated. And like I say, the great thing is that you can just do like $1 a month on Patreon, or you can put in, because I mean the most recent thing is we've got someone working on issue 4, Marshall Ray, also known as Saturn Piper PL. However, I've seen it on DVD and I'm not 100% sure how you pronounce it. So there's a few different credits for her. Really looking forward to working with her. She's been really enthusiastic, which is awesome, and I always love to see it, because for me, I mean, I'll kind of end this on this note, because I think it's something that I really want to kind of emphasize with people. So sometimes I get someone, and not had it as much recently, but I do kind of want to emphasize this. So you sometimes get people sort of saying, oh, what you got to remember is this is your project. And it's like, to an extent, yeah, like, I came up with the idea, sure, but this thing can't exist without the people putting it in. So, for example, Visualize doing the website, it's where people can find this. Like I say, everyone that's done the artwork is the thing. You need art to see it, and I can't draw. I mean, I'm not even going to get into it, because, like I say, if anyone's seen my art, they can tell you it looks terrible. You know, you need that. You need people that help promote it. You need people that support it. And we've been really lucky to have all these people that kind of come together and kind of make this a bigger thing. And we want to keep doing that this year. And if you can help with that, and like I said, we're not expecting masses from you, but there are options. Like I said, there are options going from like $1 right up to the full $100. Get a cameo in issue 4. You know, goodie package is available. So it's like from one extreme to the other. Whatever you can do, and like I say, don't worry about sort of like, if you do something for us, you don't have to message me and go, oh, I wish I could do more. Anything you do to help is appreciated. If you like this video and share it, that helps. If you subscribe to the video, it helps. You know, telling people about the comic, like some people like to say, they'll message me and they say, oh, you know, I told my friend about the comic. Awesome. Tell friends, tell people. It's absolutely fantastic. It really does help. And I can't stress that enough. We've got some great stuff coming soon. Like I say, we've got the Fan Art Friday. Part 2 is in the works for the issue 2 read-through that we did, which was so much fun. The guys did such a great job, but like I say, Hayley's kind of working on the audio, and she's working on kind of putting it together. If you've seen, like I say, if you've seen that video, then you know it takes more work than you'd think. And I wasn't prepared for that until I received it, so I've got to say a big thank you to Hayley, because I know she works hard, she does a great job, and I want to say a big shout out to her on that front. But like I say, everyone who puts the work in, that's the thing, it is all work. It isn't something that sort of came out by magic, and I think it's easy to kind of dismiss these things, but I am really chuffed with the work people have put in, and I'm really chuffed with the support. So I think I'll just kind of leave it there. And yeah, like I say, if you can get us some fan art Friday, or you know someone who does artwork and kind of, I'm not saying you need to kick up the arse, that's a bit harsh, but if you want to encourage, if you want to nicely encourage them to submit before, so if you could get it in before the last Friday this month, because on the Thursday I will be putting it together, because it's quite an editing job to kind of get everything gathered together, that'd be awesome. So anyway, have an absolutely lovely day, and much love. Bye.